and something that takes a little time to learn how to do, but it is necessary. And so the thing that I always encourage people to do first, I said this the other night, and I think I did a poor job of trying to explain what I mean by that. It was a little too wordy. But basically, when I talk about framework, what I'm talking about is what it is you do to sell things, right? So I'm not talking about your business real broad and general. I'm talking about think through your framework and what you sell and how you sell it, right? So from the standpoint of if you didn't have anything versus you had everything you need to make a good sale. So you want to think through that entire framework. You want to think through that entire process. And when you think through your framework, one of the things you have to do is you can't, this is something that I really learned the hard way. You can't think through a framework based on somebody else's skill. So in other words, if a membership site script is really complicated, even though it has a lot of bells and whistles, if you get it, then you spend a lot of time learning how to use it. Or let's say that you get something like a piece of software that does a lot of real fancy connections with YouTube, right? I've done that, right? I've bought things that had to do connections with YouTube and Facebook, and they were great. The problem is that they didn't fit into my framework to sell stuff. And because they didn't fit into my framework to sell stuff, they kind of sat on my hard drive. And so the first thing you have to do is think through your framework and how you get to the customer from where you are to sell things. When you do that, you know the framework that I have been probably teaching for the last 5 years. I will continue to teach it, whether it's local business or internet marketing, right? I will continue to say that you and I have to determine how do we communicate our USP. And most of the time, communicating your USP really comes back down to, let's say, building a framework, right? Do you have a platform? Do you have a blog? Do you have a podcast? Do you have a video cast? If you're doing a video cast, you have everything you need in order to do it. And whatever you have to do to communicate your uniqueness and what it is people benefit from when they actually buy from you, you have to be able to say, hey, I have what I need to be unique in the marketplace, whatever that takes. And you don't want to put that off for buying an opportunity, right? Because a lot of the stuff that we might buy, look, I've said this, I said this in the 30-day challenge, and I said this now. Everything in internet marketing works, right? But not everything in internet marketing is right for you at this point. And so if you and I don't have what it takes to either build a USP in the marketplace or communicate it, then we have to be able to get this stuff first, right? You have to get what you need in order to communicate your USP. Do you have what it takes to do upsells and cross-sells? This is important, right? And it's not something that you can kind of wait on. And I'll talk about this here in a minute, but I don't care what you use, whether or not you use a shopping cart, whether or not you use, Sam Cart or Thrive Cart or Optimize Press or ClickFunnels. It doesn't matter what you use. It only matters that you can do an upsell and a cross-sell when you sell something. Because again, if it's not easy for you to do, then it's not going to get done, and you're going to leave money on the table. More than likely, if it's easy for you to create an upsell and cross-sell, you're going to do it. And so even if you have to pay a little more for something or you don't get it during a launch, you need to go ahead and buy what you can use in order to do an upsell or cross-sell. Do you have what you need in order to build your list? Most of you have an autoresponder, so I'm assuming you do. And if you don't, you have to get one, right? And not only do you have to get one, you have to know how to use it. So if you need to buy a course to learn how to use your autoresponder, buy it, right? So that you know what you're doing so that you can be building your list, so you can be segmenting your list. Do you have what you need in order to do joint ventures? And do you have what you need in order to do paid advertising? Facebook ads are huge right now. And if you and I don't know how to do them, we have to learn how to do them. Direct marketing, right? Direct marketing. Do we know how to write copy or can we hire out? a decent copywriter is going to cost you between $1,000 to $10,000, and it's a wide range. But even and if you have heard me kind of preach this, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. Even if you hire a copywriter, you're not going to know if it's good copy, number one, until it converts, but that's really too late. You have to know it's good copy when you read it. And the only way you can know that is to know something about copywriting. So if you're not comfortable with copywriting, you and I have to get comfortable with copywriting, and we have to spend what's necessary in order to get ourselves comfortable with copywriting. And so whoever can communicate it with you so that you understand it, you and I have to get it, right? And so it isn't a matter of everybody and their mother buying this copywriting course, and it's cheap, and it was on sale, and I got it, on a deal. That's not important. What's important is that you and I know how to do copywriting in a way we can understand it and we can use it. So even if you pay, right, $100 or $200 more than everybody else paid, even if you have to go to a conference in your area or even outside of your area to learn something on copywriting, look, the biggest return on your investment out of all the stuff, right, is going to be copywriting, right? The biggest return, bar none, the biggest return that you and I can get is to know how to sell with words. And so, direct marketing is important. Internet marketing. How do we get traffic from social media? How do we get traffic from search? And, and even if you go out and you say, well, I'm going to hire an SEO firm. Well, guess what? SEO firms don't always ask the right questions. And SEO firms, you still have to be able to evaluate. You got to know SEO well enough to know whether or not you are answering the right questions. Educational marketing. Most of you, hopefully you have something like a webinar system to be able to gather people together and teach them. Right? Now, again, GoToWebinar is something I've had. GoToWebinar, I don't say this to brag or boast. I've had it's GoToWebinar since 2008. And so I haven't always taught, but I do teach on a regular basis, and GoToWebinar has been indispensable. And so we have to have something where we can gather people together and teach. And so you don't want to be dependent on anybody to use their webinar system. I'm telling you. You partner up with somebody and they've got a webinar system and you got to depend on them, and you know what happens is they end up building their list because they can bring them through their webinar system. If you're going to be an internet marketer, you sort of need something where you are going to need to be able to gather people together and then teach them, right? And so if you don't have your own webinar system, there are a number of them out there. Publication marketing. Do you have what you need in order to publish a course? Do you have what you need in order to publish a Kindle book? Do you have what you need in order to publish something and put it up for sale? And so these are all the things that if I go through this list and you have everything you need to do all of these things, you're sort of then ready to start buying certain business opportunities. And so, but until then though, right alongside your business opportunities, you have to have this stuff. You have to have the stuff that it takes to do these 10 things. And so when I asked the question, I asked this the other night of the folks who were on the call, I'm going to ask you the very same thing. Can you create, sell, and deliver your basic product or service? Do you have all the tools that are necessary? Do you have your own hosting? Right? So can you put up hosting tonight if you need to? If not, we've got to have those things in place. Do you have a shopping cart of your own? JVZoo, Warrior Plus, nice to have, but you and I need to have a shopping cart typically. Now you can kind of make do by letting JVZoo and Warrior Plus do your shopping cart experience. I'm just going to tell you, here's what you're giving up when you do that. Number one, let's say you work hard to get these leads, and then you sell a product on Warrior Plus, you sell a product on JVZoo. It is very likely and very much a real possibility that those folks who buy from you are going to end up on a list from JVZoo and Warrior Plus. And so they're going to start getting emails from JVZoo and Warrior Plus. So what I will tell you is that these are great services. Not only are you paying 5% of all your transactions, but you're also going to have your leads getting emailed. Now you can't run a business that way forever. Right now, again, it's a great place to launch. But if you run your business and you have a shopping cart that's solely dependent on those companies, and you can't ever just put your product up for sale without the shopping cart experience, then what you're giving up is for every $1,000 you give up 50. For every $10,000 you give up 500. For every $100,000 you give up 5,000. That's a lot of money. Right? That's a lot of money that at the end of the year you'll be looking for. A page building system. Once again, doesn't matter which page building system you use. Some of you all have a optimized press. It doesn't matter what your page building system is, but you do have to have one. And so before you buy another business opportunity, you have to be able, and the page system is only as good as if you know how to use it. Right? You have to know how to use it. So if you buy a WordPress based page system, but you don't know how to use WordPress, that's not helping. So whatever you buy, even if you have to pay a premium, even if you have to pay more, it has to be easy for you to use, right? So a page building system is something that you and I have to buy. We have to have it ready in order to do business. You have to be able to turn a Word document into PDF. You could do that through Microsoft Word. I think that costs $10 a month, or you can pay something like $99 a year, something like that. Once again, you can do this using services on the internet. However, those are not going to be reliable when you need them. A mic headset and sound card. Okay, these are all and a graphic solution. Let me talk about mic headset and sound card. Most of you here already have one. I'm sure you have one. If you're going to create videos, you're going to do webinars, all that stuff, this is stuff you need. A graphic solution. I always recommend that you learn a little bit how to do Photoshop. There are some third-party systems. I think Photoshop's $10 a month. So again, you don't have to. Now, when I first came along in internet marketing, we avoided Photoshop because it was cost prohibitive. It's like over $1,000, and so you were probably not going to go out and buy Photoshop. But then, over time, they've changed their business model, and now it's like $10 a month. I think you can get for $30 a month, you can get all the Adobe products. So having a graphic solution and then knowing how to use it is important. And you and I need to know how to do it. We need to have something. Again, you can do paint.net. Those are the free services. I'm going to recommend that at some point you learn how to do Photoshop. Okay, so we talked about USP. We talked about a platform and a website or home base. We talked about upsells, cross-sells, and recurring. You and I need a membership script. Some of you have Member Hub. Some of you have Wishlist Member. Once again, it does not matter, but you have to have one. If you don't have one and you're not ready to lock up your content, then what's going to happen is you're going to piece stuff together, and when it's time to actually sell something, and now ask me how I know this, because this is what I did. Right? I said I don't have enough money to go buy some kind of membership script, so I didn't buy one for a long time. And so, but you and I have to go out and get one. You got to go out and get the one that you know how to use. Okay, I'm going to stop right here for a second and ask you if you have any questions. Now, you can have questions on what I'm talking about, or you can have questions on anything that you're trying to do in your internet marketing. So any questions so far? Right, so if not, I'm going to kind of move on here. You and I need some kind of sales funnel software. Once again, I mean, this doesn't have to be something you need to do tomorrow, but you are paying for the opportunity. You are paying for the service when you use JVZoo, Warrior Plus, and Zaxxon. You're paying for it. You're paying something like 5%. And again, nothing wrong with that. If that's a nuisance fee for some people, then wonderful. But if you can retain, if you can have the same number of customers, recruit the same number of affiliates, and then retain $5,000, that's $5,000 that you can put into a lot of different things. If you think about $5,000, right, that you paid out in fees that you could be using in order to actually hire an employee, in order to have a software application built, in order to go to a conference where you're going to be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times more valuable when you come back. $5,000 is a lot of money. In some ways, it's not a lot of money, but it can be a lot of money if you can retain that instead of paying it out in fees. And one of the ways you can do that is to make sure you've got your own sales funnel software where you don't have to rely on anyone in order to send people to an upsell after they buy. Right? So sales funnel software is something you and I have to have. The other thing is one-click upsells. Most membership script software doesn't do this. Right? And one-click upsells are probably going to be even more effective. Now, again, you've got to test it for your market. But one-click upsells are more powerful, less obtrusive, and more effective than one-time offers. They just are. Because you're asking your customer before they actually go into the checkout process, do they want to add on something? Right? You're just going to make it as easy as them clicking up a box. They click one, and they get their upsell, and then they're going to pay more one time at PayPal as opposed to coming all the way through the sales process. They've already bought from you, and then they're going to see this other offer. Man, that is not cool. And so what you and I want to do is sort of think about whether or not the script we have, the sales funnel software, or the shopping cart we have has a one-click upsell. And there are some that are out there. I think there's Digital Access Pass. I think a Wishlist Member does that. I want to say, Jerry, I don't know if you're out there. Does MemberHub do one-click upsells? I think they do. But you want to make sure you have something where you can do one-click upsells. Okay, for list building, I mean, you obviously need an autoresponder. Please do not skimp on that. I think what is it? Aweber's $20 a month and GetResponse is $15. Please just, don't try to go out and get the cheapest one. Get the one that's easiest for you to use, right? Squeeze page building system that comes back to your page builder. Do you have what you need for joint ventures? If you and I are not users of Skype, most joint ventures happen on Skype or Facebook Messenger. Because if you're going to meet somebody and have conversation with them, they're going to want to have a conversation outside of the distraction. And a lot of those conversations are taking place not in public. They're happening on Skype. They're happening on Instant Messenger. Right? Reliable high speed. I'm not going to go into that. Paid advertising. Naturally, there are books and courses and all that other stuff available on Facebook ads and YouTube ads and all that stuff and Google AdWords. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. It's just something that you and I have to know how to do. And we have to, not even if we're going to outsource this, you have to know how this works. You have to know what a good ad is. And again, this is the kind of advertising that's going to give you leverage. When you earn a profit on your product launch, you want to be able to put a certain percentage of that money back into paid advertising. Because once you understand that something is converting, you're getting sales, what you have to do is you got to go and make that conversion work better first. Second, then what you got to do is leverage it. And the way you leverage it is you bring more of the same traffic. The way you bring more of the same traffic without having to do the work is to advertise. Right? So we have to understand how to advertise using these mediums. Now, and then there's media, television, radio, and all that stuff. So we need to know how to do that also. Okay, I talked a little bit about direct marketing and copywriting. I can give you some suggestions on courses and things like that. But I'm going to just suggest that you find something that will show you how to write a little copy. That was, I think it was 4.5 years back. It was the best purchase I've made since I was one of the best purchases that I made online was when I decided I was going to learn some copy. And it cost more than I wanted to pay. It took a bite, but it was worth every penny. And I was happy I did it. And I'm still happy I did it, because it brought a great return. If you understand how to write copy for your niche, right? If you understand how to create a sales message, and you're not dependent on buying a sales message, but you can write a sales message, whether it's in email or on a web page, you are in the driver's seat in your internet marketing business, right? And there's more to selling than you just kind of stating, I have this thing and I have it in the same spot that a headline goes, but it doesn't take advantage of all of the collected knowledge on headlines. Then again, we're leaving money on the table. Internet marketing, right? We ought to be able to, and we ought to know how to get search and social traffic, educational webinars. We talked about this a minute ago, being able to do webinars and live meetings, and then publication marketing through Camtasia. We got to have Camtasia and Adobe Acrobat. Okay. Analytics tools, Google Analytics, and Visual Website Optimizer. I think Visual Website Optimizer is something like $49. You want to make sure you've got some traffic coming to a specific site. Support tools. You need a support system. You can get the free one doing your cPanel. I'm going to suggest you use something like Zendesk or Freshdesk or something like that. I think it's $9 to $10 a month. And then having a VA or a support person that's always there is important, because if you got to do support and you're on a cruise someplace, your family's not going to appreciate that. Ask me how I know. You're on vacation and you say, well, hold on, I got to go and just check support. That does not always go over all that well, right, with family. Now, with my wife's understanding because she's in the business with me. But I have been in cases where not everybody was all that understanding that, hey, you know what, I got to go and check to see how. So again, hiring somebody is something that, once again, is it a business opportunity? No. Will it help you to be able to get to the business opportunity? Yes. You and I have to kind of know and understand and have a factory process, and we have to buy in order to do that. If we have to buy the number of outsources, if we have to use family, if we have to have employees, again, even if you have your family involved, please do not pay your family, right? That's just almost defeating the purpose of having a family member work with you. So don't just get a family member just because you can pay them cheap, right? Get a family member involved because you can trust them, but definitely pay them. Now, why do I have this here when I'm talking about buying for your internet marketing business? Because most of us, we're not lacking, right? Most of us are not lacking for being able to know how to finish a process, right? Most of us are not lacking the technical details. Most of us are not lacking the tools in order to finish a project. Most of us aren't. Most of us are lacking the time. Most of us are lacking the manpower. Most of us or woman power in order to finish something when we want to finish it. And so one of the things that you and I have to always be balancing is whether or not we need to go out and buy manpower. And if you buy manpower, and again, I don't want to use the word manpower in the exclusivity of the ladies who are present, but I use the manpower word kind of in a generic sense. If you and I go buy manpower, and we go buy that manpower, the manpower over and above sometimes a business opportunity, we will get to the destination faster rather than buying another business opportunity that we've got to do ourselves, right? Because again, typically you go buy a WSO, you buy a JVZoo product. The problem is never these days, right, that they don't work. And I say this all the time, and I have to keep saying it. The problem is not that this stuff doesn't work. The problem is that it does work. And the problem is that it takes time to know how to do. Not only is it going to cost you time, it's going to cost you the money. When, in some cases, what you and I need to do instead of buying another business opportunity, or we need to buy manpower. Because a manpower, an employee, an outsourcer, paying a family member, paying an employee will get you where you want to go faster. Even if it's a simple process that doesn't sell as much, it will actually move the ball down the field. Most of what sells in internet marketing is simple, but most of us don't have the opportunity to be consistent because we don't have the manpower. Okay, so one of the things you and I have to consider doing is buying manpower. Okay, now, let me continue. I want to talk a little bit about PLR and how you buy PLR for your business. and how and what you should be doing. You have to look at PLR as inventory, right? PLR is inventory. How many of you all have been in business outside of internet marketing, right? So you understand the concept of inventory. Or even if you've had inventory, you've had accounting, right? You may have taken accounting in college, or you took it in community college. You were 4-year college, wherever you went, you took accounting. You understand that when you buy inventory, it's typically in a raw state, but you and I have to do something to it in order to make it sellable, right? So when we buy PLR, what we're doing is we're buying something that we are eventually going to use in order to sell. We buy our inventory in order to enhance our affiliate promotions, right? If you are selling an affiliate product, right, you should always be looking at the PLR you have as a bonus, right? All the time. Now, you don't always have to just take it exactly as is. You want to work with it a little bit, but you should always have PLR available for every occasion, right? You should never have to go searching and seeking for a bonus to offer to your customers in order to sell an affiliate product. You should never be trying to sell an affiliate product without offering a bonus of some kind. I mean, even if you don't like doing resale rights and PLR rights, it's a little bit of an insult for me to get an affiliate promotion and you didn't take the time to offer me a little something more, right? We just should be able to do that. And one of the ways you do that is to have resale rights content on demand. But you've got PLR. Everything you offer should have a bonus to it. Product creation, right? We should always have good products to offer. Now, this does take understanding how to take PLR and turn it into another product. We should have website content, right? And I want to come back to this and just kind of say we need to have the factory to create the product, right? We need to have the factory to create the product. What do I mean by that? I mean that we need a process. How do you start from point 0 to get to point B where you have everything done? If you have sold a product on JVZoo or Warrior Plus, you don't have a checklist, then you'll never outsource, right? It's hard to. What you and I need is a checklist, because there are things that will not come to you until you see them visually, right? So you need to have a checklist of your process. How do you sell stuff? Once you have actually gone through the product creation process, you sold something, you need a checklist. And what you do with that checklist is, when you get ready to create product number 2, you get your checklist and you look at it and you say, okay, you know what? Number 7, I'm outsourcing that. Number 8, I'm outsourcing that. Number 10, I'm outsourcing that. Number 13, I'm outsourcing. And then what happens is, product number 2, you create a lot faster and probably even a lot better than product number 1. Product number 2, at the beginning of the project, what do? You go out, you don't go and just start going out to create the product. What you do is you get your checklist. You get your checklist and you say, you know what? Last time I outsourced task number 1. That didn't work out so well. I'll do that myself. This time I'm going to outsource task number 3. I'm going to outsource all the other tasks. So again, the key to understanding this is first of all, having the right tools. Second of all, being able to pay for the right people to put a process together. But you and I can't do that without a checklist, right? Without a checklist.